The following is a paid program, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent the opinions of the management of this station or Pamel Broadcasting.
Good morning. This is 1 in 36, a presentation from Anderson Center for Autism. 1 in 36 is a weekly show devoted to Autism Spectrum Disorder.
Good morning and welcome to 1 in 36, the weekly talk show on topics related to Autism Spectrum Disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozinski, Chief Development Officer at Anderson Center for Autism. And I'm very excited today to have my guest as Alex K. Lynn, who is the founder of Autism Rocks, an Autism Rocks event, or events.org is your website. Alex, I know you have a lot more you're going to tell us about in addition to Autism Rocks today. And I want to welcome you to the show and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Eliza.
So, Alex, you, like I said in the intro, you've got a lot that you can share with us. I think we should separate our conversation today into a couple areas. Like, let's maybe start with you and your background, little introduction about who you are.
Yeah, my name is Alex Lin. I was born in Taipei, Taiwan, and I'm American. I'm a Taiwanese American. And born and raised in Taiwan, and I went to European school, that type of European school growing up, and I went to Old Christian when I was in high school for 3 years, and I lived there in America, and then I went to a city university for my university years, and then now I live, I think, pretty much full time in Taiwan now. And yeah, I mean, a little bit about me is that when I was little, I was very interested in politics, and I didn't know I had autism until I was 13, probably, or around 2013. And then I was born in 1998, and but I always knew I was different because when I was in the third grade, I had a big interest in U.S. politics. I remember all 50 states and all 43 presidents of the United States in order and their first ladies. And I was made fun of by everyone because I had this very strong interest that didn't interest my age group at that time. I remember staying up watching the President Obama's inauguration. And I probably am the only kid that time, and I was watching it because I was very in this craze for Obama that time. A lot of people were around the world, and I was watching it on CNN, and it was crazy. And then I didn't really. I walk alone in the cafeterias a lot. When I was in elementary to middle school, I didn't really know how to talk to other people. I didn't know I had autism at that time at all. And even if I had friends that wanted to be friends with me, they'll either betray me in the end, or backstab me, or choose other people that they think is better for them per se. It's life is really fair, and it's all about power, a power grab, or kind of a popularity grab when you're a kid. All about popularity. So yeah.
Right. Alex, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So before you had any idea that you are autistic or were autistic, did you experience, would you call it bullying at school?
Yes, horrible bullying. People called me a lot of horrible names. They called me lynch. They called me gay. And they called me a lot of horrible names, which I think is horrible because they shouldn't use gay because it's derogatory towards the LGBTQ community. And all of my teachers ignored me, and they did not in any way try to help me or resolve my problem at all. And I had to yell at the middle school the middle school dean in order for them to change the anti-bullying rule at my European school. And thanks to that policy now that I have inserted in the school, every time I go back there, I see LGBTQ flags around the school, and people accepting each other for who they are, no matter if they're LGBTQ or of any minority group or autistic. They're all very proud and loving to each other, and I don't think there's any suicide incidents I've heard of. It's been for a long time in the school, and it's been ever since been great. And that than more than I feel like a lot of people are very happy with the school's performance with mental health and they've gotten really better.
Yeah.
I can say that maybe I have something to do with that. I'm proud that it was great. And then, yeah, I mean, a lot happened. I mean, I was bullied and I went to an American boarding school called a Dunn School. And then I lived in the principal's house for about 5 months and was mistreated and was alienated and was treated like a foreigner, even though I'm not a foreigner, even though I'm American. And they said I didn't know how to use a knife and fork, and they needed to teach me how to do that, which I think was ridiculous. And then because I did not waste my money to go all the way to America to be taught that, I wanted to be taught like actual stuff that can be of use to me. And then I got picked on by the principal's wife. And the first day I went there, she said, "Welcome to hell," which I thought was kind of weird.
Goodness.
And
Alex, let me just interrupt you real quick because we got limited time. I want to make sure we cover everything you want to talk about today. There was two things I want to prompt you about. I want to ask you to talk to me about. One is there was an event that you did when you were at the European school in Taiwan, right? A Lighted Up Blue event. Wasn't that a big turning point for you where you kind of, the whole dynamic with the rest of the students changed a little bit?
yes, I mean, like, yeah, what happened is I almost killed myself and I got expelled. And then my precious grandmother passed away in front of my eyes, and I ate dinner with her every Friday, and she was so important to me. And my mom was also very important to me. And my mom and my whole family kind of guided me. And throughout the process of my grandma's death, it was so hard because her final wishes to me was that she wished I would never give up no matter what.
Yeah.
And that I'll no matter what, I'll make friends no matter how different I am, and I must stay true to who I am, and no matter what, don't lose hope, and I must do something meaningful with my life. So after my mom told me that, after my grandma passed away, she kind of led me to begin to realize I have autism. And then slowly I got connected with I went back to my old school after I got expelled unfairly from my previous school because I wanted to kill myself. And then I miraculously got involved with the Light Up Blue event. And I really felt it was a big turning point. I did the Light Up Blue event. I raised about $4,000 from a tin shake event, which is pretty much, we had people donate in the tin cans in front of a shopping mall called Mingyao Shopping Mall in Taipei. And I raised a lot of money the first day, and we lit up the whole Taipei 101 building blue. And then after that, I gave a speech in front of my whole school, which is a video that you can view on the Autism Rocks events YouTube channel, which you can look up at autismrocksevents.org or at Autism Rocks events on Instagram. And then you can see my video where I gave my first speech, how I started out. And then you'll see that in that video, I gave a 5-minute speech in front of everyone, and that changed my whole life. That was the best moment of my life. I never experienced so much love and understanding, and like everything I wanted in my whole life just came true in that moment, in that 5 minutes. And getting that applause was the best thing ever, the best revenge, and it was the best time of my life. It was the moment where I realized that my life actually doesn't suck, and maybe I might have hope for me after all, you know?
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that. You talked about that. That was really touching to me when you told me that story earlier. And also the fact that it was your grandmother who had that wish for you that got fair for you. Exactly. And your mom saying you really went from a place where it sounds like you had all but given up all hope to realize that maybe this was a purpose for you. And I think for people listening to this podcast and listening to you talk, there may be somebody who's feeling somewhere in between those two extremes, and hearing your story, I'm hoping might help them see that there is light, and there is opportunity, and there's purpose to be found. So we're going to take a short break, Alex. When we come back, I'm going to ask you to talk about two main things. One of them is what you do on Instagram and how people can find you, and also the Autism Rocks event, and what it's like for you to see these performers, all of whom I believe, have autism up on stage performing at this event that's now several years in and is going really beautifully. So we're going to talk about those two things when we come back, okay?
Okay.
Great. This is 1 in 36, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozinski. And remember, we'll be right back.
If I could be you.
And you could be me.
For just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes. If you're talking, they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy. So we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
At Wheelchairs for Warriors, serving America's heroes is our mission. With your support, we serve veterans and first responders injured in the line of duty across the United States of America, providing them custom-fit, complex rehab mobility solutions to ensure they rejoin their lives at the highest level of independent mobility and function possible. Join the mission at wheelchairsforwarriors.org.
And now, 1 in 36 continues on 100.7 WHUD. This is a weekly community affairs program presented by the Anderson Center for Autism.
Welcome back to 1 in 36, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozinski, and I'm speaking today with Alex K. Lynn, who is, among many other things, the founder of Autism Rocks and Autism Rocks events. There's so many stories you could tell, Alex, and you've already shared with us some really interesting things about your personal background and the lows and leading up to the highs. And in the second half of the show, I know that you're very active on Instagram, and I know that these events, the Autism Rocks events, are ongoing and annual and really exciting. So why don't you start by telling us about, first of all, where to find you on Instagram, and then all about what you do there.
At Autism Rocks events with the F and the N at Instagram. And I do a weekly or bi-weekly live stream show talking about my experience as a person with ASD and how to live your life to your fullest.
Yeah.
And pretty much I try to talk about the true perspective of people on the spectrum. And I try to have random people come on my show. Either it can be parents with kids with autism or actual people with autism. One of the best guests we had is a person named, forgot his name. I think he was one of my guests I have, I think his name is William. He gave a poem about being bullied. Mm-hmm. And I found that quite empowering because it talks about him being bullied, and it was so surprising how well the poem was put together and reflected kind of how we're like finally going through being bullied, but we actually know we're being bullied at the same time. Powerful that was, and it really touched me so much. And I just pretty much what I want to show on my live stream series, and I call my podcast, Issue at Hand, is that I want to show the issue at hand that people with autism go through and a new perspective. On autism, for example, we've been hearing a lot of things about linking vaccine with autism again for some reason, and sometimes I find it quite disturbing because it makes me feel like I have a disease when I don't. And I bring previous performers from Autism Rocks come on the podcast and talk about how that makes them feel. And because I don't really think people with autism talk about that very often, and I think they should. That's really important that they hear their perspective, because we hear a lot from the parents with kids with autism, but not really people on the spectrum speaking about that issue. So I try to let them speak their truths per se on the live stream series. Yeah.
Social media is such an amazing platform, and it's grown so fast. And you're significantly younger than me, but I've seen the ability to share stories and share experiences, and we're going to get to this in a minute when we talk about the concerts, the Autism Rocks concerts, because those are in-person shared experiences. I'm a strong believer in the power of shared experience, because you're your own person having your own experience, but you're experiencing it alongside or within a group, with other people who are also having their own experience, but then you're at the same time sharing the experience. And I think that's very powerful. What you shared about William's poem, though, also really struck me in terms of, and it's an important message, I think, to just reinforce for our listeners, whether you're an educator or a caregiver or a parent, this is a main reason why, having that anti-bullying campaign in your school or in your programs is so important, because it's a strong message about the fact that somebody who's bullying is doing it for whatever reason they might have, without realizing that person who's being bullied is sort of experiencing the trauma of being bullied while also being very aware of what's happening. And so it's kind of a double whammy, if you will. That's not really a great word for it, but it's really sort of double the impact. Is that what you were talking about with regards to that poem?
Yeah. Sorry, his name was Brian. So I just checked there. Maybe Brian. Yeah. He's 35, and I'm sorry, I got his name wrong. 35, and he pretty much talked about how bullying is like a double-edged sword, like you said, and how we want to be seen, and how we want to be empowered, and it talks about being empowered as an autistic person, and how we want to be seen and looked at as a group, and how we shouldn't be shamed for who we are, and how we should be looked at. And growing up in Asia is hard, because mental health is stigmatized in Taiwan. And even though we're very forward in gender equality and marriage equality, but when it comes to mental health, we're not very forward per se, unfortunately. A lot of people still think autism is a kind of disease, and people still say that I have a disease in Taiwan, unfortunately. And I am trying to do a bunch of things like pass a disability law in Taiwan to secure people with I'm working on legislation with other lawmakers, and trying to pass this version of the law where it helps protect people with disabilities all around the place. And you wanted to talk about the concert, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds amazing. And at the end of this, we'll make sure that people know where they can find out more information about you and what you're doing. Certainly your Instagram makes a lot of sense. But we only have about 5 minutes left. Let's talk about these concerts that happen. Why don't you tell us where they happen and how it all works, how people can find out more?
You can go to autismrocksevents.org, and it has happened since 2016. And how it happened is I met my co-founder, Ned Specktor, at UCLA Sports Management, Entertainment Management summer camp. And he was speaking as a guest speaker. And then asked him whether he can do a concert with me, because he did concerts with the Salvation Army before. And he agreed 4 months later. And then we first thought it would be at the Grove, but he said, why don't we email Universal? And I'm like, really, Universal? These things? They'll say yes. And somehow I written a letter to Universal, and to Stuart Ira, I always thank this person, like this man who made this happen. And he made it happen. He said yes, and I can't believe it. I'm still doing it to this day. But unfortunately, Stuart's not there, but Anthony Buhe, who was the video guy back then, he is now the manager of, I think, Universal City Walk, and he in charge of entertainment. And it's amazing. We have done it for 8 years, and seeing how it has touched lives like Logan Shepherd, Aiden Boyer, and Sasha Saunders, Ruben J, Miracle Project Live, the Autism Movement Therapy Dancers, and who else? Logan Shepherd, he's a good example because he had almost over 15,000 followers on Instagram. And Aiden Boyer, he was an American Idol. He had about 15,000 followers on Instagram too. And they're growing because of the help of Autism Rocks. And that's the whole meaning of this platform, to show that people with autism through music. The fastest way to understand autism is just like anyone else. People with autism want love, inclusion, friendship, and we're like everyone else. And I'm trying to use the power of music to show that.
I think it's fantastic. And let me just ask some specifics. So everybody who performs at your concert is on the autism spectrum. Is that correct?
Most of them are, yes. But we also have autism allies.
Allies.
Who don't have autism, like Adana Duro, Travis Trail, and I think Dylan Dunlap is also non-autistic, and some others, from American Idol or The Voice,
And if you go, this is just for our listeners, if you go to autismrocksevent.org, you have to have the S on the end. There's a whole series of YouTube videos, starting with, as you said, Alex, before, your very first video, and you were, talking about sort of the beginnings of all of this. But if you scroll down, you can watch clips from all of the concerts so far, and you can hear interviews with and watch interviews with the performers who are so clearly expressing their love and their appreciation and all the things that you just talked about in terms of what they've been looking for to experience with an audience when it comes to sharing their art and their performance skills. And really, the whole message that they're all sharing is that without you and without Autism Rocks events, they don't feel like this would have ever happened for them. So it's really amazing. And I really want to urge all of our listeners to go check out autismrocksevents.org, because I think that's where you'll find out information about the next concert, when it's going to be, and how to get in touch with you. Again, also through Instagram at Autism Rocks. At Autism Rocks Events. I don't know why that's having trouble coming out of my mouth today. Alex, we're pretty much done with our time. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and telling your story and sharing the work that you're doing. And I also really want to wish you the best of luck with what you're trying to get done with the legislation.
Taiwan.
Yeah, you become a true advocate, a real advocate, and just look how things have changed, and you've changed your life yourself. And I think that it's just such an empowering thing. Great.
8 concerts this year, and we're having our upcoming concert at June 28th with Love on the Spectrum's Danny Bowman co-hosting with me. And
she was on this podcast too.
Yeah, she's gonna co-host the concert with me, and she posted it yesterday. And just stay tuned on June 28th, 6 to 9 p.m. at Universal City Walk.
That sounds amazing. Thank you so much, Alex, for all that you're doing and for taking the time to talk to us today. One last question for you. When you're on that stage or next to the stage and you're watching all these performers do their thing and seeing how the audience is reacting, how does it make you feel?
It's rewarding to see them emotionally connected with the audience and really feeling their love, and the love that I felt when I first released talking about my story with autism. And I kind of want to show like them that they can also have the love that I received from other people when I got discovered and understood by other people.
I
want them to be understood and loved, and understand that they can also be like me and find a meaning of life.
I love that. I think that's a great message to end on and so positive. Alice Kalin from Autism Rocks Events, and find him on Instagram at Autism Rocks Events. Thank you so much for all of your time today, and wish you the best of luck with everything you do in the future.
Thank you.
This is 1 in 36, the weekly talk show on topics related to autism spectrum disorder. I'm your host, Eliza Bozensky, and remember, Anderson cares.
You've been listening to 1 in 36, a weekly presentation from Anderson Center for Autism, celebrating their centennial in 2024. Join them for another edition of the show next weekend.